Hi, I'm Martin Ramju, editor of LCT magazine. Welcome to LCT's continuing educational series where we talk to operators about different parts of the industry and their operations. I'm joined by Nick Kokas, who is the Vice President of Brentwood DET near Detroit, Michigan. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So there's a lot of talk about a new association, the Global Ground Transportation Alliance. What are some of the things that operators should expect from a new association, and what should be some of the foremost pursuits of a new group?
Well, fundamentally, I think associations serve the purpose for people within that industry, one, education, and two, representation. Education within their sectors, which for our case is mobility. I've said for the last few years we're no longer just a limousine or chauffeur car industry or transportation company, but we provide mobility solutions to the general public. With regards to association, there's a lot of education that could improve from what we're used to. And in addition to that, representation from a legislative standpoint, whether it's local and federal, I think those are probably the two main objectives that associations serve in terms of their subscription base.
Mm-hmm. There's obviously been a lot of talk of TNCs and what to do about them. We've seen efforts on the legislative front, in the judicial arena, lawsuits, and then on the public relations front. Insofar as they very likely will never completely go away, where is the time best spent in dealing with TNCs?
Bottom line is they aren't going away. A TNC or ride sharing is going to evolve. Whether they remain in the same forms that they are today with the current rideshare apps, or there's an evolution from other sectors, for example, the automotive manufacturing companies. If you just follow the money in a lot of these SEC filings of these publicly traded automobile companies and a lot of their public relations firms, some of the information that they put out, they're investing hundreds and hundreds of $millions in mobility solutions. So, in fact, they're developing mobility units within these companies. So, they're not auto manufacturers 100% anymore. They're auto manufacturers that build cars that are investing in the future of mobility solutions, which, all of us here should be learning as much from as possible, because if they're going into mobility solutions, that means they're coming into our space. So we either learn from them, we can either compete with that, with what their plans are, or we create synergies between those industries and potentially even offer solutions for things to enter into that space, since we do know, based on following the money, they are entering into the mobility solution space.
Mm-hmm. For those luxury fleet operations that want to embrace on-demand or near-demand, possibly do some business with rideshare and TNCs, what is the proper approach or the balance? How do you maintain that luxury integrity but also reach out to that convenience sector?
So in the last 2 to 3 years, especially if you look at a lot of these 1 to 5 car operators, they have reached out to the ride-sharing industry. There is a lot of companies that do both ride-share and their traditional pre-reserved transportation. Bottom line is they need to survive. And I think that's where, for the last few years, there's been a disconnect. A lot of these operators feel alienated, these 1 to 5 car operators. So I think it would be nice to have some education for them, or some support structures for these companies that have embraced ride sharing, because a lot of these, first of all, these operators, they're not doing the non-traditional unlicensed. They're sticking with, for example, the Uber Black services. So they're not doing anything different in terms of level playing fields. They're paying for the insurance, the high commercial insurance. Some of these, companies, depending on where they're at, they're paying all these workman's comp premiums. So to say that this industry as a whole is 100% against ride sharing is a fallacy. It's ignoring the real world that's out there. And I think, if you look at, I don't know what the exact percentage is in terms of what a 1 to 5 car operator in terms of percentage as a whole in the industry, what it makes up, but I'm thinking it's a pretty large percentage. And when you alienate a large percentage of that user base, it's not a good thing. We need to include everybody in the conversation, and when you do that, you provide better solutions for the future.
And in terms of including everyone in the conversation, how can an LCT show in the future, for example, provide a targeted educational topic or forum? What would be a good start?
A good start is to start with a clean slate, in my opinion. Think outside of the box. Take the bubble, take a huge pin and pop it. I would look at sectors like the automotive sector. We need to look at some of the different people that are involved in mobility solutions. These are very public people that say what their plans are, what their projects are, how much money they're spending. And instead of creating lines in the sand saying, well, this person is going to put a nail in our coffin, no, perhaps they may expand our future operations. Other things that we should consider are companies like Google, Waymo, which is a Google company. So there's a lot that we can do in terms of education that we can enlighten our minds in terms of opening what's out there. There's a lot of talk in AI. There's a lot of research going into AI. There's a lot of second and third tier companies, startups that have started, AI projects in terms of autonomous vehicles. I know Cadillac, for example, has an amazing cruise. I'm not sure what the exact title is, but it's an amazing, AI system that's already out there. There's no reason why these technologies shouldn't be explored and taught for our user base or the limousine or chauffeur car space to learn from, because there are a lot of technologies out there that we really don't talk about previously on LCT. So I'm hoping we can expand that instead of focusing strictly on black car, or bus. Let's start talking about, okay, the AI, the technology, the automotive companies that are investing all this money, Google and Waymo that has all of these autonomous Waymo vehicles all over the United States. Because there is a lot of uncertainty even from companies like Google and Ford. How do we really operate all of this technology? I don't even think they're really sold on whether or not they want to keep it all in-house. They may need companies like us, or especially the larger ones, to be the facilities of service and to help operate all of these technologies. There's a lot of talk with the Dealers Association. What is going to be their purpose? Are they going to become service facilities and operators of these technologies? So there's really a lot of things that we should be asking about. And when we do ask about it, that puts us at the table. And when we sit at the table, it creates synergies of whether or not potentially we can be involved, instead of creating that line in the sand and staying on one side of the field and then looking them as the opposing team on the other side of the field. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for LCT if they were to open up that vision of who to talk to now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to work with there. On a slightly different topic, when you look at the next year's LCT show, and you look back on all the shows you've been attending, what primarily keeps you coming back, and what would keep you coming back?
Well, in this business, we do get burnt out fairly quickly. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it is nice to have someone inspirational that's able to motivate us and keep that fire alive within us. This year's keynote was really good. The guest speaker, giving us a little kick in the butt reminder, saying, you really are in control of the business. Stop using excuses. If you have a problem, solve the freaking problem. I do like that aspect of the show. We do this, like I said, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's nice to be able to come to a show that looks at us as individual beings and how we can better ourselves, which ultimately betters our companies and betters all of our staff that we have within our organizations.
Sounds really good to me. Thanks a lot for your time.
Well, it's
and
my pleasure. Thank you for
good
having
luck.
me.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.